You created the global phenomenon and the global awareness day that is World Elephant Day, which has raised awareness and for these incredible iconic creatures. How did you even, help me out here, how did that you even get that together, and how did the idea come about?
My colleague, Michael Clark, who made the films with me, and Michael's been my co-filmmaker for many years, and he was very involved in all of our elephant expedition work that we were doing in China and Thailand at that time. And myself and the Elephant Reintroduction Foundation, which is a royal initiative in Thailand. It was the initiative of the Queen of Thailand. And we were working with them on the reintroduction of elephants back into the wild. There had been 500,000 acres of protected forest habitat set aside by the King of Thailand. And the purpose was to rewild elephants that had been taken from the wild and to replenish the population of wild elephants. So we were all sitting around one day in Bangkok and looking at this global problem for the future of elephants. And I said, we need to have a way to focus people's attention. We had Return to the Forest, which we were going to be releasing that following year. We had just started on the filming of that. And I said, we need to have a way to focus people's attention on these issues. We need to bring everybody together, all the different organizations, NGOs that are working on the issue, the government, scientists, politicians, and people, citizens, consumers need to understand. So we needed an Earth Day for elephants, and that's how it started. And I just, made it happen, right?
You just made it happen. That is amazing.
But you got to remember too that at that time, that was in 2011, and then we launched it on August 12, 2012. Social media culture was very different then than it is now too, right? It wasn't quite so popular, and it's sort of in mainstream culture. So we were really able to generate a lot of engagement by creating the World Elephant Day social media platforms. The hashtag, right, generates over 2 billion impressions every year in social media. I mean, it's one of the most powerful hashtags that people utilize continually for bringing awareness to elephant conservation issues. And it grew far more than I ever thought it would. In fact, we figured, okay, we're just going to have this one day and bring it all people's attention to this, but it started to roll and we needed to keep doing it. And so we grew the organization. I created the charity side of World Elephant Day, which is a charity that I run called World Elephant Society. And we've engaged with over 100 different elephant organizations around the world each year who recognize World Elephant Day. And World Elephant Day is probably the most significant fundraising day for a lot of these elephant organizations. They really utilize the day to bring attention to their own conservation initiatives. World Elephant Day has been used as a day to pass legislation. It's been done in the US, Singapore, the Philippines, India have used World Elephant Day as a day to announce legislation on banning elephant ivory sales and other forms of policy and such. So it's become a really important day for people in the elephant conservation movement.
That is amazing. Just so incredible just to see the impact and how it's grown over the years. And hashtag World Elephant Day. I'll sometimes be on Instagram before the 12th, and I'm like, okay, it's World Lion Day, next is World Elephant Day, posted one.
Exactly.
Raise attention to it. So thank you for creating such an amazing day.
It's amazing because World Elephant Day was probably the first animal day, and now there's a lot of other animal days.
Yeah, now
right?
You can't keep up. It's like World Lion Day, World Elephant Day, World Cheetah Day. You're like, okay, which one?
But it's kind of cool that it is the first animal day because, they are a keystone species, right? So of course they, are the ones that are kind of leading the way for other people's, connection and awareness to the impacts on other animals too, because it's not just elephants that are impacted by these same challenges that we're talking about. Illegal wildlife trade, it impacts so many different species, habitat loss, climate change, the same, right? So, elephants are a great icon for how we need to be treating all wildlife.
What would you say is one of the major threats to elephant conservation as a whole?
Well, we call them the Big Five. We have that on our World Elephant Day campaign. What are the Big Five? threats to elephants. Of course, poaching and illegal trade is the main one. Habitat loss, is another big problem that's becoming more and more significant as more and more human civilization, expands. Climate change, and that's also, connected to habitat loss, because as habitat changes, the elephants lose their habitat. Elephants have a really, really big role in climate change mitigation because they're caretakers of forests and landscapes, in maintaining, biodiversity and enabling habitats to exist healthy and having other wildlife live there. So that's another big, risk that elephants face now through climate change. Their habitats have changed. They've faced drought. There's been huge drought, in last year. Now we're getting all these floodings going on in Kenya, for example, because you have drought and now you've got rain, but then there's no way for the water to absorb the rain, and so it's causing flooding, and all of this climate shifting has huge impact on the elephants. And of course, captivity is another really, really big problem for elephants. We've seen a lot of change, a lot of awareness in the last 10 years around ecotourism with elephants. More people becoming aware that it's not appropriate to see elephants performing in show rings and doing these goofy tricks and being in these chained situations. And so there's been more and more effort on more natural encounters with elephants, free roaming elephants that are not chained up in a small space. And then of course in Africa, eco safari is a really big draw for people to be able to just see the elephants on the savannah and take photos and stuff. So there's been a lot of good shifting going on for people's awareness around, if you want to encounter elephants, encounter them in the wild, and making those choices of going to the places that are really educating visitors and treating the elephants with the respect and dignity that they deserve. Yeah. So there's
that's really
there's a lot to think about with how we have to maintain our relationships with them, because elephants as a keystone species are really significant to the health of all these environments. And so without these elephants in these environments, all the other animals are impacted. The plant life is affected. Elephants are seed dispersers. I mean, that's their main focus as caretakers in their habitats, and that's how forests grow, and you get that diversity of forests. They look for water when they're in these habitats. Other animals use these watering holes. So you start to have a breakdown of elephants in these environments, and that's what keystone species are, is they represent that kind of pinnacle of that structure of that environment. Then everything else gets impacted. So that's why we need to keep them here on Earth, because if they go, then we're not going to be far behind, right?
And what do you personally love about elephants? What is it about elephants to you that you find so absolutely captivating?
Oh, well, gosh, I mean, they're extremely empathetic, and they're very sensitive. And, they will really look at you, and if you earn the respect of an elephant, it's a real gift. And they're just a loving, empathetic animal. Of course, their size, their magnificent intelligence, the fact that they help each other, their social emotional bonds, but they just have really good qualities, as individuals. And I've often felt, elephants are more like human than any other animal, and maybe sometimes even better than human, in that, they have all these qualities and characteristics that we strive to have as people, or should strive to have, the values that they live by within their family units. So that's what I really love about them most, I guess how they look after each other and how they look after other animals and how they look after the environment. I think, they're a really good model for us.
I love it. So it's like everybody, we need to take after elephants.
Be more like elephants.
Be more like elephants, 100%. With the recent ban of elephant ivory in Canada, what are your thoughts on that, and what are your hopes that will do?
Oh, well, that was quite a lot of work getting that going, right? So we had actually the Ivory Free Canada Coalition So there's a number of organizations in Canada that really got behind that. About 8 years ago, it was started by an organization in Vancouver called Elephant Addicts. And then we, World Elephant Day, got involved, and then there was another organization based here. At that time, they were called the Global March for Elephants and Rhinos. Now they've changed their name to Rhino and Elephant Defenders. And then as we started to really push for this attention to the fact that we don't have any elephant ivory or rhino horn sales ban in Canada, Jane Goodall Institute and Humane Society of Canada and Humane Society International of Canada got involved. And you know, they're two very, very big NGOs. And so the collection of people among this Ivory Free Canada Coalition came together and just started to push. But it finally got passed through, came into force in January of this year, January of 2024. And you know, it's interesting because it's not like Canada has had a huge illegal ivory trade issue or illegal wildlife trade. I mean, illegal wildlife trade expands from the ivory. I mean, there is a lot of old ivory in Canada. Western Canada has a very big Asian population, and so there's been that tradition of having ivory in the home and so on. But really, more importantly than any of that, is it's just the right thing to do. I mean, we shouldn't be buying and selling elephant ivory or rhino horn. I mean, these animals need these things for themselves. You know, the best use of ivory is on the elephant. The best use of a rhino horn is on the rhino. And so these are sort of, you know, useless marketplaces that have been established without any true purpose. And so there's no reason that any government in the world should be supporting that and allowing for that type of trade to take place. I mean, illegal wildlife trade is rampant, and I mean, it just spans across the globe, and it's, you know, as I said, it's a lot of species. It's not just the elephants and the rhinos that are impacted by that. So the fact that we now have this legislation in Canada really looks good on Canada. You know, Canada can step up, and, you know, I think we've got 10 countries in the world, and maybe more like 13 now, that have now come into having this legislation in place where there's sales bans, no trade of elephant ivory or rhino horn.
What would you say to people individuals who want to like help elephants and that have never seen one or in their backyard, and they're like, well, they're far away, how do I help them? What would you say to them?
Oh, well, actually, on the World Elephant Day website, worldelephantday.org, we actually have a whole page of what you can do to help elephants, right? But probably most importantly, just in a very sort of straightforward way, don't buy ivory, do not buy illegal wildlife products of every kind. If you want to travel to see elephants and meet elephants, do your homework, do the research, make sure that you're going, you know, to places that are responsible, ethical, you know, that are really going to be giving the true picture of what elephants are, who they are, the respect and dignity around what elephants are, and showing that to them. And then I guess the other part of it too is support the organizations that are out there actually doing the work on the ground to continue to study them, protect them, and preserve their habitat. So by helping those organizations continue to do that work, elephants have a good chance. So those would be my recommendations.
Would you come back as an elephant?
Reincarnated as an elephant?
Would you come back as an elephant?
Yeah, well, maybe I've already been an elephant, right? I might have already been one, which might have drawn me into now working as a human to protect them. But yes, I would come back as an elephant.
Patricia, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Julian, my pleasure too. And I love your shirt.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a good choice for today's conversation.
For sure. Thank you so much.